The pitch at the Sheikh Zayed Stadium, Abu Dhabi is a balanced pitch. The average first innings score at this venue in the last 20 matches is 104 runs. Northern Warriors will be up against the New York Strikers in the 9th match of the Abu Dhabi T10 League 2023 at the Sheikh Zayed Stadium, Abu Dhabi on December 1st, at 5 PM IST. Northern Warriors vs New York Strikers, Match 9 preview. But before that, if you want any kind of information related to this match, you can contact the number shown on the screen. They will tell you half an hour before the match starts which team will win the match and which team will lose the match. So don't delay and join Raghav Cricket Analysis soon. So let's move on. Northern Warriors have played one match in the series and they are currently ranked second on the points table, while New York Strikers have played 2 matches in the series and they are currently ranked 4th on the points table. Both teams last played against each other in match 22 of the Abu Dhabi T10 League 2022, where Mohammad Irfan scored the highest fantasy points for Northern Warriors with 103 match fantasy points, while Owen Morgan topped the fantasy points leaderboard for New York Strikers with 131 match fantasy points. In the last match played by Northern Warriors against Morrisville Samp Army, Northern Warriors beat Morrisville Samp Army by 9 runs. The top fantasy player for Northern Warriors was James Neesham, who scored 97 fantasy points. In their last match in this series against Bangla Tigers, New York Strikers beat Bangla Tigers by 8 wickets. The top fantasy player for New York Strikers was Chamika Karunaratne, who scored 103 fantasy points. NW vs NYS, Sheikh Zayed Stadium, Abu Dhabi pitch report and weather conditions. The pitch at the Sheikh Zayed Stadium, Abu Dhabi is a balanced pitch. The average first innings score at this venue in the last 20 matches is 104 runs. The pitch at the Sheikh Zayed Stadium, Abu Dhabi is a sporting one with decent assistance for both batters and bowlers on offer. The team winning the toss may decide to bat or bowl depending on the ground conditions today. Weather report for Sheikh Zayed Stadium, Abu Dhabi: the temperature will hover around 26 degrees Celsius with 55% humidity. Winds at a speed of 3.73 meters per second are expected. Pace or spin. The Pacers have been very successful at this venue. They have taken 75% of the total wickets at this venue. We would suggest that you pick as many pace bowlers as possible in your team. NW vs NYS. Head-to-head in the only match played between these two teams, Northern Warriors lost to New York Strikers. The batters of both teams have earned the most fantasy points for their respective teams so far. Top batter and wicketkeeper picks. Mohammad Wasim. Mohammad Wasim is a batter and has an average of 31 match fantasy points in the last 10 games, a fantasy rating of 8.1, and is a fairly consistent player in terms of fantasy points. He is a top-order batter who bats right-handed. In the last 5 matches, this player has scored 0, 36, 45, 1 and 0 runs at an average of 16.4 per match. Kenner Lewis. Kenner Lewis is a wicketkeeper and has an average of 17 match fantasy points in the last 10 games, a fantasy rating of 6.6, and is a punt player for your fantasy team. Kenner Lewis is a top-order batter who bats right-handed and also keeps wickets. In the recently played 5 matches, he has scored 35 runs, averaging 7 per match. Adam John Hose. Adam Hose is a very inconsistent player in terms of fantasy points and can be a high-risk, high-returns pick in your team. This player has an average of 23 match fantasy points in the last 8 games and a fantasy rating of 6.2. Adam Hose is a batter who bats right-handed. In the recently played 5 matches, he has scored 73 runs at an average of 14.6 per match. Top bowler picks. Akil Jerome Hossain. Akil Hossain is a bowler and has an average of 41 match fantasy points in the last 10 games, a fantasy rating of 8.4, and can be a good pick for your Dream11 team. This player is a slow left-arm orthodox bowler, and in the recently played 3 matches, Akil Hossain has taken 2, 0, 2, 0 and 0 wickets at an average of 0.8. Abhimanyu Mithun. Abhimanyu Mithun can be a good pick for your Dream11 team. He has an average of 13 match fantasy points in the last 10 games and a fantasy rating of 5.8. This player bowls right arm medium. Top all-rounder picks. Kieran Adrian Pollard. Kieran Pollard can be a good pick for your Dream 11 team. Kieran Pollard has an average of 37 match fantasy points in the last 10 games and a fantasy rating of 7.7. He is a batter who bats right-handed. In the last 4 matches, this player has scored 0, 23, 0, 6 and 0 runs, averaging 5.8 per match. Top players of the last match. The top point getters for Northern Warriors are Abhimanyu Mithun with 68 match fantasy points, Adam Hose with 43 match fantasy points and Kenner Lewis with 27 match fantasy points. The top point getters for New York Strikers are Mohammad Wasim with 42 match fantasy points, Kieran Pollard with 41 match fantasy points and Odin Smith with 23 match fantasy points. So if you want to know which team is going to win tomorrow's match, then you can contact the WhatsApp number shown on the screen. They will tell you half an hour before the match starts which team will win the match and which team will lose the match. So don't delay. Join Raghav Cricket Analysis soon and don't forget to subscribe our channel. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.